So in this video, we are going to spend a little bit of time talking about how you can make a pie graph. And what we're specifically going to go over is how you section out the circle for the different percents. We went through that pretty quickly in class, so I just want to spend a little bit more time on it if it was something that you struggled with or didn't understand because we were going through it so quickly. So the first thing that I typically do when I'm making a pie chart or a pie graph is I want to cut my pie into quarters. And the easiest way to do that is to find the center and then draw a horizontal line and a vertical line. For me, the easiest way to do that is to hold this up, hold my circle up to the light, and I will usually line up the edges of the circle. So if I switch to my dock viewer, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see it, but I'll try. So you can kind of see here that if I move those aren't lined up. So I'm going to move it till they're lined up, and then I'm going to fold. Then I'm going to open that, and I'm going to do the same the other direction. So I'm going to fold it over. You can see on my dock viewer that those aren't lined up, so I'm going to move this until they're lined up. And then I'm going to fold again. Now, before I draw anything, if I go to the worksheets that we did for this, that's exactly what I did in class. You can kind of still see the bends for my pie graph. I just held this up to the light, made sure that they lined up, and went from there. So, now that I have that marked, I can go in with a pencil and cut my pie into quarters. So this circle altogether represents 100%. So what I have now is 4 sections of 25%. And I'm going to use this knowledge to estimate what size the different slices of my pie should be. So I went through this table, and I'll erase the ones where I marked them, and looked overall at the percents that I had to make a slice for. And I noticed that 25% is one of them, and that's the brand Samsung. So I'm just going to take this bottom quarter because it's already marked off as 25%. And I'm going to use that for Samsung. Then, the next one that I'm going to choose to do is the 46% because it's so close to 50%. So if I go over to my pie graph, this entire half right here is 50%. So if I want to mark it off so that it's only 46%, I'm just going to bring this line here in a little bit. So I'm just going to leave like a little sliver of space. And what I just sectioned off is 4%. And I'm writing it down because I'm using pencil and I can just erase it when I need to. So now what I have here is that this bigger chunk represents 46% and the brand Apple. So if I look at what I have left, it still all adds to 100%. I have 25% from Samsung, 46% for Apple. I have this little slice here that's now 4% because 46 plus 4 makes up 50%, which is this half of the circle. and then I have this 25%. So if you add up all those percents, 25, 25, 4, and 46, you're still at 100. So on my table, I have the top two brands already marked. So next up is LG, which is 12%. Well, I have this chunk that's 25%, and if I cut this chunk in half, each of them is 12.5%. Because 25 divided by 2 is 12.5. This section was 25%. Slice it in half. Each one is 12.5. Well, if LG is 12%, all I have to do here is like cut off the smallest little sliver of the 12.5 slice. So this section is now LG at 12%, which means that this section that I have left is now 13%, because 12 plus 13 makes the quarter of 25%. So if I uncover and I look at my circle graph, these percents still add up to 100. I have 46 plus 4 plus 13 plus 12 plus 25. If you plug those all into your calculator, you're still at 100%. We still have two brands that we need to graph. One of them is 10% and the other is 7%. Well, I know that this one, this slice that I have here, is 13%. So if I'm going to make one that's 10%, I'm going to cut off part of this slice. And I want to make sure that when I cut it off, so I'm going to do it really lightly, that whatever I have is a little bit smaller than this LG slice, because LG is supposed to be 12. So if I want this to be 10, I want to make sure that this one is a little bit smaller than this one. So I took this slice that is now 13% and I cut it so that it is about 10%, and then I just verify that it's a little bit smaller than the LG portion. So this one's supposed to be 10%, so it should be a little bit smaller than this. This one is the other category. What we have here is 3% left over. Once again, if you added up all the percents that I have written on my circle, we're still at 100. If I go back to my table, I just did the 10% one, so all I need is this last brand, which is Lenovo. If I go back to my pie chart, I can see that the portion of the circle that I have left does add to 7%. So that means that this slice is Lenovo. It is 7%, and luckily, because we were pretty careful when we did this, this 7% does end up being a little bit smaller than the 10%. So I think that we did a decent job at breaking up this pie chart. It absolutely does not have to be perfect. Without using technology, your pie charts will never be perfect. But I think we did a pretty good job. The 12% is a little bit bigger than the 10%, and that's a little bit bigger than the 7%. Then we have our 46% and our 25%. So you won't be asked very often to make a pie chart or a pie graph. You'll hear me call it both, pie chart or pie graph. I don't know that you get asked to make these very much. I'm not sure that they've really ever had you guys make a pie chart in your free response. But I do think being able to make one and understanding how we break up the circle does give you a little bit better understanding of how to read a pie chart and how to get information from the pie chart. So if you're feeling not like 100%, if you're like, well, I don't know that I could do this again, like I understand what you did and doing it with you is fine for me, but I'm not sure that if you gave me a problem, I could do it on my own. If that's how you're feeling, then you're okay. Mostly what I want you to get from this video is how we break up the circle that represents 100%, and I just want to give you an opportunity to see that a little bit more in depth to make sure that at least as I go through it, the process makes sense to you. So that's all we need to do for this video. If you have any questions specifically about pie charts, you can email me and I will get back to you as soon as possible.